If you want to install some planks to have this beautiful SHILAP design on your ceiling, I'm going to show you the steps that I took to be able to install it. So let's start. First of all, I want to be as clear and as instructive as possible so you can take this technique, this type of project, and apply it into any part of your house. Now you see this beautiful ceiling, this coffer ceiling, and the situation is that we want to make sure that it looks as straight as it can be using these SHILAP planks. Now the planks, what they're going to do is they're going to cover all the edges on both sides, and they're going to cover the top. And for that, we want to go ahead and remove any type of obstruction that we have on the ceiling, like the air registers, light fixtures, air returns, smoke detectors, and all these things, and we have to put them back again later. But if you notice, this diagonal part over here is not as straight as I want, and I want to make sure that everything looks as symmetrical as possible. It's a long run, and we want to make sure that it looks as good as possible. So I went to Home Depot and I got these beautiful SHILAP planks. They are 12 feet long, and I want to go ahead and use them over here. Although the top is about 11 or 10 and a half feet, I have to use that, and I'm going to have some left over that hopefully I will be able to use it on the side. So now you see that we have all these things that we need to remove, and we need to calculate some sort of a common measurement for the top, so we don't have to go every single time to measure a section. Now we understood in this situation that in the beginning we had a lot of them in about 114 and 3/4, and right in the middle you'll start like about 115. So based on that, we start cutting different pieces. And the cool thing is that the diagonal pieces, when they're cut in the way I'm going to show you, they can cover a lot of the mistakes, a lot of the voids. So that's really good. The important thing over here is to make sure that our cuts are meeting exactly the way we want, making sure that we don't have a ton of gaps in that junction over there where they, touch each other. So let's do that. Let's try to come out with the best idea to do that. Normally you will say, oh, this is a 45-degree angle. Let's cut everything in a 45-degree and everything is fine. But look what is going on. This design, this cut over here goes just a little bit more open than the 45. So we need to go to like 50, or we need to go like 48 degrees. And it's going to be a little challenging because not only this particular tool that is a miter saw, a 10-inch miter saw, is not going to go all the way through to the plank. It only goes to like 45 degrees, and I can bring it all the way to like 50, a little more than 50, but the problem is that it's still too small, and I will have to use a bigger saw. And most of the people won't have a bigger saw, but if you notice, it's also have another articulation over here that is going to help us. Now we have just another little problem is that it only goes to like 45, but if you release this screw, it will take you all the way to an angle that is a little more comfortable for you to work. So pretty much we're just releasing the pressure over there, and we allowing the miter saw just to go all the way to the side, and see if we can find that angle that we need, which is extremely important. Now you may need to sacrifice the first piece to just make sure that everything else after that cut is going to look well. Obviously the longer piece is not going to be sacrificed, so discarded. It's just the smaller pieces that are the result of the 10 and a half feet long section in a 12 feet bore. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's try it right now and see if we can actually get a better angle, and you can actually see that we can touch a little bit more. Obviously that's the corner piece, so with the glue, with the construction adhesive that we're going to use, we're going to mitigate a little section that is open there. Now remember that this ceiling is not straight at all. This kind of bonus rooms on top of garages are all kind of twisted and stuff. So we want to go ahead and use a laser or long level to make sure that we come out with a nice and standard line that is nice and level, and we can guide ourselves with, because that's what we want. We want to make sure that the bottom part looks as straight as possible. And obviously some of the trusses that were used over here may be a little bit taller, a little bit shorter, but the good idea is that we can actually create our own constant of level instead of just kind of going with the shape of the room itself. So to avoid having a whole bunch of nails sticking out and covering all the nails, because we want to go ahead and cover every single nail. We're gonna have to be really efficient. So we're gonna use the 16 gauge pneumatic nailer with 2-inch nails. Now, besides that, remember that we want to make sure that once they are like on top of each other, we actually, in this case, we can actually glue 2 pieces together and just nail them right there in the middle, so we don't have a problem exposing so many nails. So we can use these nails to go into the bores together, and it will maintain the bores in a better shape than just kind of nailing them individually. I'll show you in a moment how we do this. And if you have a wall that are a little thicker, we want to go ahead and use maybe some 2.5-inch nails in that case. And if that is something that we need, we also have the 2.5 over here just in case. So we make sure that everything is fastened correctly. Now remember that you're nailing on drywall, so you want to angle your nails so they can actually stay together. And the liquid nail that is here is just for different projects, perfect to glue these bores into the drywall that is right there on the ceiling. So let's remember that we need to open up the tubes, because the tubes have a seal on the top. So we want to go ahead and use these little poking wires to be able to do that stuff. Now remember that you cut in an angle. So in this case, when I make my mark, I know that the mark has to be right at like an eighth of an inch from the gap that is there in the machine. So that's something that you want to determine with your machine. Where is it going to be? If you cut, where is it going to be? Because it's an angle cut, and you want to make sure that you know exactly where you have to position your plank to be able to cut it, and cut it right there at that. In my case was just 1/8 of an inch from the gap that is there on the miter saw. So again, we're gonna go about every 16 inches. We're gonna go ahead and put some liquid nails or construction adhesive and place it right there. The first nail row is gonna be obviously attached to the structure, so it's really good because we know that at that edge we always gonna have some sort of wood or dead wood to be able to nail it, because that's where they screw the drywall. So we go ahead and put that stuff, and if you notice, we have a little concave areas, but being a plank like that is not gonna have a problem. So you wanna go ahead and repeat that over and over and over, and just once in a while you check that you're not too off from the edges of your horizontal ceiling, so you don't have something exposed on that. That is important. And with this, I'm just doing some lightweight spackling over here and covering every single hole. Make sure that you don't cover those grooves. That's the beautiful design of the SHILAP cut. So that is an important thing to remember. Remember that line that we made over here? Well, that line, we have to respect that line. We have to make sure that we install our diagonal pieces nicely. And for that, what we did is that we went ahead and marked the areas as tall as it allows us to mark it, so we don't have an issue cutting it too short in some areas. So that's something that you need to go ahead and do it. In this case was 20.5. In my case was these pieces were 20.5, and the top ones were 114.75 and 115. So that was the constant that we used, and it worked really well. Some areas were just a little open than the other ones, but it's really forgiving because we are installing this in an angle against the top board, so it gives you a lot of space. Now we marked the exits of the air conditioning, and we went ahead with an oscillating saw and just cut that, so it was easier. If you notice over here, look how open it is on the top, but you don't have to worry because later on is actually gonna close a little bit more. So that's the thing that we have to worry about. Now if you're doing a wall, it's not a problem, because on the wall you start from the bottom, you go all the way up, or vice versa. However you want to do it, it's a little more simple. In my case, I will probably say that it's better to start from the floor up, nice and level. You see, we took out the return grill over there to make sure that we install it really well, the registers as well, the light fixtures, the area where the smoke detector, the box where the smoke detector goes, and as we continue, we actually will remove the last light fixture over there. So at the end, we had to cut just a strip. This strip was about 2.25 inches, and we went ahead
and cover all the little holes. These little holes over here are the ones that are just the result of small little details that you want. And now I always recommend you to use the best paint that is available. Marquee is the best from Behr right now, and you can go ahead and use it. Now they have Worcester. Worcester's a really nice company that provides the best products for painting, and you can get a combo over here of rollers and tray and brushes, so that will help you a lot. I actually bought a 1/4 inch roller cover so I can have a nice and smooth finish. Now with this new dispenser over here, you can actually change that for another applicator, so you can actually pour your paint in a better way. Now when you're painting, obviously use a good amount of paint. Make sure that you have long strokes. Also make sure that you follow me on YouTube as Hugo Correa and on Facebook as Hugo Correa DIY. Look how beautiful this project looks like. I'm so glad that I'm able to show you all the steps. You can do this process in different parts of the house, like bathrooms, kitchens, and all that. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe.